There is no work-life balance. Entrepreneurship, it's an obsession.
She's the matriarch of New Zealand's female founder movement and proof that a mission, no matter how big, can't come at the cost of the woman leading it.
83% goes to all male founder teams.
We go into the shocking stats around funding for female-led and mixed teams, and most importantly, how to change the game.
If the fear of failure is bigger in your head than the love of what you do, that's when it's shit. Once I start, I don't stop.
But you've experienced firsthand what it's like when your body says, stop.
I'm grateful to the cancer. It would have been nicer to have like a kinder wake-up call. Every year of my life, I get happier. I have an ability now to just let it slip.
I think that was a really big shift.
The game changer here is...
Okay, take me back to the moment where you are running Electrify for, I don't know how many years. You've created a movement. This is much more than an event. And you realized, fuck, I have to step away. What was that like?
I mean, I think that was exciting.
Amazing.
To be honest.
Yes, I have to step away. Let me rephrase.
Yeah, because there's no shortage of incredibly powerful women leaders here in New Zealand. You're about to meet one. I mean, if you haven't met her already, Anna Gunther.
Yeah.
Like, she embodies this space. She is 100% all about driving that incredible pipeline of women founders and supporting their innovation and telling their stories and getting them funded. This is something she's been doing for years. I hopped on late, right?
Yeah.
So like there's plenty of people who could and who will continue the movement. And Electrify is something that, I mean, it doesn't require me. Ministry of Awesome is, pushing it forward and amplifying it across the country. But I think the thing that I thought was exciting was that I knew that I was going to go to the States. I had to go to the States, but what an opportunity, because the US represents the largest export market for almost every startup founder in New Zealand. It's the one that once they nail the product market fit, once they nail their sales engine, once they nail everything that shows that the wheel is turning, they look to the States and say, right, now how are we going to smash into the market? Because that's success, right? Because the millions and millions and millions of people and the opportunity there is what's going to, be success for them. So if I could bring Electrify Aotearoa to the States, and obviously it's not called Electrify Aotearoa anymore, now it's called Electrify USA, the US has just as big of a problem, if not even slightly wider, as far as women founders are concerned.
So tell me about the problem, or tell me about what the mission of Electrify is or was, and what it has become in the years.
So, I mean, everybody knows the stats, and the stats themselves are pretty grim. So we've been doing this this is our 4th year of Electrify. And in the first year of Electrify, the stat that I provided was that 83% of all venture capital globally goes to all male founder teams. 83, am I allowed to swear?
Yes, fucking percent.
83 fucking percent goes to all male founder teams. 15%, this is at that time, 15% to teams that have women and men on them, which is pretty awesome. I'm happy at least there's a shared bit there. But 83%
I know.
is unacceptable.
And I'm like,
right?
it's so awesome that there's also some women in 15%.
Yeah. And then there's a whole story you could tell about that. And only 2% goes to all women teams. So if you look at that, if you look at the juxtaposition between all male teams, 83%, all female teams, 2%, we don't need all male or all female. We need mixed teams, right? So the 15% to me is what needs to be widening, because what we need to do is we need to be driving diversity in the startup pipeline. And I'm not talking just about gender, but that's the easiest one right off the track, right? It's really crazy to me that diversity applies for women. Like what? We're 51% of the population. I mean,
That's an excellent point.
It's fucking obvious. Like why are we even discussing this? Why are we even using a term like diversity? It's more like, do you have humans at your company? You do? Okay, well then. They should, obviously be representative of both genders. But clearly because of,
the patriarchy.
Well, I mean, because of the systems, because of the patriarchy, because of how we have wound up here all the way along the way. We're now here at 2% versus 83%, or let's just talk about that middle of 15%.
Yeah.
But the depressing thing is that, so here we are now, 4 years into it, and I just looked up the stats again in 2024. Oh, guess what? 2.4%. Yay! Yay! Wow! Look what we won. 2.4%.
And yay! Look what you've won.
No, that's just so. But that's depressing.
I know.
Right?
Well, it's ridiculous. Like we were talking earlier about, we had just had her coming out on the podcast of having a baby.
Yeah.
This is her business, and she felt it would be judged and perceived as a weakness. If she were pregnant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's 2025. And you answered...
Doesn't matter, Yela.
No, it matters
she's
nothing.
right.
Yeah.
She's right.
It's shocking.
For most reasonable people, that is shocking. But for many, they will go, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
With total sympathy, I understand.
Yeah.
There's a judgment out there. There is I don't know, it's just residual, and it's not just men. Like, this is not about men versus women. I want to be really clear about that. It's not men versus women and women versus men. It is truly about the fact that, like, the big picture, why did we embark on Electrify right at the very beginning? Because at Ministry of Awesome, when I was chief executive there, and it continues to this day, we know that the only way that we are going to build a New Zealand that is sustainable for our people and for our planet, right? The only way we're going to do that is by focusing on innovation-led ventures, right? Not to put primary industry in the background, but continuously focusing on that sector as our economic driver is completely unsustainable. And look what, productivity-wise, it's just, for 7 million reasons everyone's already familiar with, it has to be about innovation-led. And if that's the case, then in order for us to do that and to play on the world stage with any kind of significant leadership, we need to have at least 5,000 high-growth startup founders in this country, absolutely just struggling away and building their incredible innovation-based ventures. And right now we have 2,600. And we only have 25% being women founders. So how do you get from 2,600 to 5,000? You have to build that participation in the pipeline. So it's not just about, like, if equity isn't meaningful to you, like if you don't care about fairness and you don't care about economic sustainability, you don't care about economic independence for women, if you don't care about the knock-on effect of not having, you know, that economic strength in the future, well then what you should care about is just back out and look at the country as a whole and say, how is New Zealand going to be a sustainable country where our people and our values and our systems have some kind of impact in the world? The only way we're going to do that is if we bring those women founders in. And we support them and we help them build their businesses and allow them to achieve the dreams that they're trying to achieve. And that's a significant goal.
That's a huge goal, because that changes not just the situation for women, it changes the country, the economy, the culture. And with that, it's participation in the, like, on that world stage that you're talking about. So tell me about that world stage, because you have kind of one foot in playing with the big girls and the big boys, and one foot here in New Zealand. Country-wise, size-wise, we're a tiny country, sometimes left off maps. You know?
It's true.
I think on the tariff maps we were Madagascar or something.
Oh,
it was interesting. But I'm really interested to hear how New Zealand is perceived internationally, and how beyond, you know, getting that critical mass in terms of female-led businesses and innovation businesses, how can we stack up against these big players?
I think that I mean, obviously, when I walk around Athens, Georgia, quite often people will say to my husband, who has a Kiwi accent, he's Kiwi, they'll say, where are you from? And he'll say, New Zealand. And they'll be like,
what?
No, they kind of like, they don't want to be rude. And they just kind of, they have a blank look like, oh. And you know, they just have no idea.
Yeah.
But if we're talking
just like, I mean, people here in a small town would be like, Georgia? Like,
yeah. Which, well, they might not say which one. But anyway. But the point is, I think, is that for your industry leaders, for your high growth startup founders, for the people who are in our sector working, you know, they're venture builders, or they're enabling venture builders, New Zealand is a very romantic notion.
Yeah.
And that is something that we truly have the opportunity to tap, because the storytelling around New Zealand is something that can be harnessed.
Yeah.
You know, and the story of New Zealand is becoming defined. There's one of my favorite Kiwis in this world is a gentleman by the name of David Downs. And David has been leading, along with the team, the positioning of New Zealand for those leaders that I'm referring to, not necessarily venture builders, but large organizations across the US, to tell the story of what does New Zealand stand for? And you've probably seen the slogan, "See tomorrow first." And that's kind of like the positioning around this notion of New Zealand as a highly sustainable country, led by hugely progressive people who will not stand for shit, and who, to some extent, are role models for the rest of the world. And I don't think there could possibly be an inflection point in our world right now more meaningful and more powerful, or a bigger opportunity for New Zealand leadership, whether it's on a government basis or on a venture basis, or on an individual basis, to step in and own that space
and do it differently,
of being, and to show that you can be hugely ethical, you can be hugely popular, you can be a hugely beautiful and sustainable country, and you can be also highly innovative, and you can make a shit ton of money, but you don't have to ruin the world as a result, and no one has to be piggy about it. You know,
it's true.
I mean, to really simplify things, we have this opportunity to step in and lead. And never has there been a time where that opportunity is more great, nor has there ever been a time where our responsibility
to do so
is higher than now? Yeah,
absolutely. How do you see that Kiwis compared to most European people I know, most American people, can be quite, maybe it's the tall poppy syndrome, maybe it's the British politeness, but less eager to step into that limelight, into that spotlight, and take up that space. And I agree with you completely. There is such potent kind of fork in the road in time where we can show a different side of leadership. We can show a different side of doing business and life, which is something that is so potent here. You know, I hate the term work-life balance. I'm not even going to get started on that. But what people do really well here is build and still live, not sacrifice their life at the expense of a bigger vision. Yes, there's always trade-offs. I think that Kiwis do that better than I've seen anywhere in the world. But taking that spotlight and stepping up and saying, okay, this is the new era of leadership. How do we do that? That's a big, big venture for people who are usually more introverted.
So there's two things that I really want to unpick there. The first one is I really want to push back against the work-life balance thing.
Oh, yes.
I don't think that's true. Second of all, I don't believe, like, if we're going to talk about the world of high growth startup,
yeah,
or even entrepreneurship, there's no such thing.
No,
if,
true.
if you want work-life balance, and if you want to be able to have flexibility and to be able to, well, sure, you have flexibility. You could work at 4 in the morning or 2 in the morning, as opposed to at 9 and sit at a desk. You have that kind of flexibility. But entrepreneurship and high growth startup, it's an obsession.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a delusion.
There is no work-life balance. I mean, you don't have to do the whole Silicon Valley, we eat pizza at, and we stay at the office all night long and we burn the candle at both ends and all of that sort of shit. You don't have to do that. That super macho-ness is unnecessary. At the same time, it doesn't really matter because it's not about the hours. It's the fact that it's an obsession and that you are truly trying to birth something and you cannot stop labor. It happens, right?
And I agree
happens.
with you on that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not, and I think when you are in that space and when you're birthing, you also don't want to stop. Like
No.
there needs to be some kind of level of delusion and just kind of just go.
And to that point, if I could, I'm like, we're kind of ripping sideways here. But to that point, I really want to make the point that, there's a lot of talk about burnout and startup burnout. And that's a real thing. But I also think that right now I am lucky enough to be working with a startup, in a startup where the culture to me is just so exciting. I love being there.
Yeah.
And I will work at any point, at any time. I don't care about burnout because I'm feeling so passionate and excited about what I'm doing. I think burnout occurs when you no longer give a shit or you've lost the point of your passion. But I also think burnout, the worst part of burnout occurs when there's fear. Right? So if you're so consumed with fear because you don't know whether you're going to be able to make salaries, or you don't know you don't know what's happening with your funding,
right,
or your runway is about to run out, or your engineering team isn't really able to deliver the product that you've promised your customers, or and all of that shit happens all the time, right?
On a daily basis.
Part of it. And if it's unrelentless, then you've got everything you need for burnout because life is just too painful, right? It's just constant, right? But at the same time, if you're leading this and you have some modicum of success and you work your way through it and you can take a step back and breathe and you can count your little bits of gratitude.
That's it though.
Yeah, and you can recognize how far you've come. So instead of looking at all the things that you don't fucking have and you haven't achieved, and instead look at the tiny wee little things that you maybe have achieved. I know it's just so pat to say it. Then
the 0.4%.
Then that maybe it will help on that front. Yeah. But you know how you were talking about work-life balance? What I really meant to say when I was pushing back on that is that, first of all, I don't think there's work-life balance if you've got a startup. But I also think that, the stats show it, that we don't have work-life balance in New Zealand. We have one of the lowest productivity rates in the OECD. And so it is absolutely a truth and a point of data that we're working, I can't remember what the figure is, but 7 hours for every 4 hours that an Irish person in the same industry works.
That's
and
crazy.
That is not work-life balance. So if the Irish man and women can go to the pub or go home and hang out with their kids or their friends or whatever, and we're still there for another 3 hours, that's not work-life balance, is it?
That's an excellent point. But I want to, because it's a really interesting point of view, and I agree to a level with what actually is under burnout. There's a constant drum bass of anxiety, sometimes even depression. And yes, you focus on what works, and if you do what you love, all of that is true. But you've experienced firsthand recently what it's like when your body says stop.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What was that like, and how how are you able to marry that with that mentality of just keep going, just keep running and go?
Oh, well, you've just made a total liar of me, actually. So, I mean, no, but it's true. Like with Ministry of Awesome is a not-for-profit. And everything that we do, whether it's incubators or whether it's coffee and jam or whether it's, Electrify or whether it's just, everything that we do is about growing that pipeline of successful New Zealand founders and supporting them through those very early stages. Yeah. And nobody really wants to be part of that early stage piece because you can't make any money off it.
No,
like,
it's messy.
95% of the people that we're working with are not really going to achieve the big, huge, tracksuit size or halter size, valuation. Yeah. It's not going to happen, but they're going to come back again and again. And this is what startup is, right? Because that 5% is our future economy.
Yeah.
That 5% is our future. That's our future.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that's going to elevate New Zealand to this sustainable country, et cetera, all the vision that I painted earlier. But I feel like everything that we did and do it's so hard to keep that sustainable because, like I said, there's no money in it. And so therefore we relied on things like grants from Callahan, because they're focusing on building up that pipeline and they're looking for the groups that are most powerful at doing that. So Callahan was a major supporter of Ministry of Awesome. Yeah. We're looking at partnerships with people and organizations who have long-term vision for where those people are going, knowing that if they bet across a group of 100, that really maybe 5% will be their future customers. So I'm talking about people like Kiwi Bank. I'm talking about people like AUTA. I'm talking about, organizations like Christchurch NZ. These are all companies who are betting on the future. And so it made it possible for Ministry of Awesome to do what we do. But it's just a constant shout out to find support. And that anxiety, the working with startups, what a joy. Working with founders, incredibly inspiring. Working with my team members, my goodness, you couldn't find a more talented, more mission-driven group of passionate people who know what to do. Working with our partners and our sponsors, amazing. Dealing with this constant, how do I build financial sustainability into this organization? How can I make sure that this continues to have the impact that it has? How do I convince government that innovation-led ventures are what they should be betting on for the future? That was constantly just such pressure. Yeah. And I believe that, honestly, I did it for 7 years, and the last 3 years were the hardest. And I kept coming back at bat every year about funding, trying to grow that sustainability. And it really took it out of me. Yeah. And I honestly believe, obviously, cancer is something that is just like, it's just bad luck. Obviously, there's many things that you can do, but I didn't deserve it. I didn't make it happen. No one deserves it. No. It's just this random, splitting of cells, and it all gets fucked up. And so when I found that, I knew that the first thing that I had to do was to remove the anxiety from my life. And that's what I did.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, Ministry of Awesome was that, well, let's put it the other way. Marian Johnson was Ministry of Awesome, right? I'm also mother to Lila, mother to Tal, wife to Martin, daughter-in-law to Helen and Alan, owner of Teddy the Golden Retriever, and all of those things. But what was my actual identity? It was Ministry of Awesome. And that's true for any startup founder. So I'm not a startup founder, but to some extent, I was a like a tiny venture builder.
Yeah.
And the stress was horrendous.
And I think that's what the dichotomy that I'm struggling with when we talk about the ongoing anxiety and stress is just kind of part of the startup world. To a degree, I believe that is true.
But that's the fear thing that I was referring to.
Right.
I feel like 7 years in fear. In fear that I would let everyone down, in fear that the whole thing would crash, in fear that I wouldn't deliver, in fear that this just failure, fear of failure, right? The fear of failure drove everything. And if the fear of failure is bigger in your head than the love of what you do or the passion that's driving you, or if it's even 50-50, that's when it's shit. And that's when burnout occurs, right?
It's true.
It's no fun.
It is no fun. And
to
it
be
has
haunted like that.
No, and it has its effect on your body, on your relationships, on everything. So with that wisdom and that kind of forced, really hard handbrake that was thrown your way, what would you say to those female founders who are in that, high growth hustle stage, and are experiencing that fear? Like, how do you transmute that? How do you navigate that differently? If that is the differentiator between burnout and just, high growth startupping.
Mm-hmm. I think that there are three things that saved me. The first one is my husband and my children. More my husband than my children.
Fuck those guys. Sorry, Lila.
No. But you know what? When you love and you give, giving is so much better than getting, and that empowers you too. And you stop looking at your belly button and you look out, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what my children, helped me with.
Yeah.
And also because they just said, "You've got this, Mom," right? And that means something. But the love of my husband and the fact that every time I would come home, if I was vibrating at that negative intensity, he would he would say, "I honestly don't even know why you're doubting this, because you've got this. I know it. I don't know why you don't fucking know it.
Yeah.
But you should know it." And then his certainty and my belief in his certainty,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't have confidence in myself, but I had confidence in Martin that he
Sometimes
was right.
you can't see it.
No, so if he was right, then it must be okay. So that was, and I think that's so important for founders, that there is a believer in their life other than themselves.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you fall and you need someone to help you stand up again, and that's your believer.
Yeah.
So whether that's your best friend or whether that's your, co-founder or whether it's your husband or your wife or your kids, or I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
You need to have that in your life. So that's my number one.
Yeah.
Number two, this is going to sound like product placement, and I really don't mean it
Come
to.
back after the commercial.
Yeah. I really don't mean it to be, but I think there's more than a handful of founders across New Zealand, possibly even in the, maybe 100 founders across New Zealand who would agree with me. I was lucky enough to work with, I think it was the Angel Association of New Zealand and Callahan, who put me on to a program called Abroad, ABROAD, like I'm going abroad. And Abroad is an organization founded by this incredible gentleman called Justin Milano, who honestly put his hand out and showed me how I could deal with that anxiety, and who shows startup founders across New Zealand how to recognize all of the challenges that are coming up for them and to be as resilient as possible in dealing with them. So not telling them what to do, but giving them the tools to build that strength in themselves. So rather than coming home and going, Martin, I need help, I had a set of tools that I could rely on. I could recognize that these thoughts that were plaguing me were not how it is. They were just thoughts.
Yeah.
Some of them were true. Some of them were inapplicable. Some of them I needed to listen to, but whatever. I had a toolkit.
Yeah.
And I think abroad continues to happen every quarter. Just if anyone listens to this podcast, Google it.
We'll have a look, and we'll see maybe if he's willing to share some resources as well for the listeners.
I love the impact that he's had, and he had he had a mad impact on me. And then I think the third thing is I'm grateful to the cancer. Right?
Tell me more.
It would have been nicer to have like a kinder wake up call, or a less
would you have
horrendous
listened?
one. No, I don't know, because I'm super stubborn.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I know, I've never really been good at sports, but the one sport that I was really good at was long distance running. And I'm not talking ultra, because that's ridiculous. Sorry, Zach. But But what I mean is that once I start, I don't stop.
Yeah. Well, that's also shown in how you built and worked and created.
Well, I think founders, once you start, you don't stop. And you need to know when actually to just stop. You have to know. And I knew that things were out of balance, and I knew it was time to think about what next. And I knew that I was probably no longer the person who should be leading Ministry of Awesome, because I was tired.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel good. My bones hurt. Yeah. And I woke up every morning and I thought, geez, is this what getting old is like? Because everything in my body hurts. And then when they said, oh, your bones hurt because they're fractured. And I'd been walking around for a year with cracked ribs and like little holes in my femur. I didn't know. No wonder I felt like shit.
Oh my God.
But all of that together kind of, it just made me go, right. You have to stop. No
It's
choice.
True.
No choice, mate.
Yeah.
You put your tools down. You are not the right person. And
not
for
right now.
For this anymore. You know, the team deserved somebody who had not necessarily my vision, but a vision, but also the strength, the resilience, the energy, the dynamism, the everything to make their lives richer. But I was just like slogging through. It's like the 26th mile.
No wonder. And also, yes, the team deserved that. I hear you, and that's really beautiful. But I think also this was your invitation to not just stop, but to maybe be more connected and moving forward, do things differently. Who is Marian after that diagnosis? Because you've moved back to the States, you're in a new role, you are still flying up and down. We're here because Electrify Aotearoa starts today. From the outside looking in, it feels like you're still running.
I'm not running.
Nah, we're skipping.
No. I'm the luckiest person on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not. I really am. You know, there's something that there's this trope that is really true, and that is that, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but I didn't know that, and it's something to look forward to, that every year of my life I get happier.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I don't have a sustained Snoopy dance, you know, amongst the daisies every day. That's not life, right? Without drugs, that doesn't really happen. But
we'll have a little dance outside.
Yeah. But what I mean by that is that I love my life.
Yeah.
I love it. And I have really terrible asshole days where I don't love everything. And I'm feeling really grumpy. And that call didn't go well. And so-and-so hasn't returned my email. And they said no. And, you know, that stuff happens.
Lives.
But happily, I can go, I'm going to shut my laptop now. And I am going to walk back to the apartment. And I am going to have a glass of wine or sit out on the porch or phone my friend or do nothing. I'm just going to sit out there and look at the view and change as opposed to chew on it like a cow with a piece of cud for the next 72 hours. Why didn't that person return my email? What was the tone of that Slack? You know what I mean? All that stupidity. I have an ability now to just let it slip off me. It slips.
I love it. Like Teflon.
Yeah.
Like a non-stick pan.
No, you know what it is? It's like that turtle in Finding Nemo.
Oh, yeah.
Like the best character in the whole movie, right? I've always wanted to be that turtle.
Yeah.
And I'm getting more and more like that turtle every year.
Oh, I love that analogy. And I think, you know, is that tied to what you were saying earlier, that you came to the conclusion that your whole identity and sense of self was tied up in work, and with this shift, you have a little bit more detachment from it?
I think it's actually much more than that. I think it's actually a full mind shift of, instead of always having my experience of life be, you know, kind of like a sucking in and then seeing it through these kind of calloused eyes that weren't clear. Oh, this is so like ridiculous, but
no, it's not.
But now I feel like, oh my God, I can see clearly now. But that's what it feels like.
Yeah, different lens.
But and no one has to wait for a cancer diagnosis for that to happen. You actually just have to put in a little bit of work.
Yeah.
And
choose. I feel
you do have to choose.
It's really a choice. I think I, for the life of me, can't remember the name of the person I heard say this, but credits to you because it's changed my life. But they were talking about, you are not a victim of your circumstances, you're a victim of your perspective.
100%.
And that, when you realize you can take a different standpoint to your situation at any given time, doesn't mean bypass it. And if you're sad, be sad. If you're angry, be angry. But you can change the corner you're standing in and looking at it from. And that in itself, at least for me, was such an empowering realization, because I all of a sudden wasn't at the mercy of my circumstances. I could just choose how I related to it.
Totally.
Changes the game.
Totally. You know, it really makes me think of the other day when I was looking at, you know, I was sort of writing some notes about Electrify, and I came across a post on LinkedIn from somebody who was at Electrify last year. And she made some real points about why did we not focus on the inequity? I think what she was really saying is that we weren't honest about the toughness. We weren't honest, or we weren't focusing on how hard it is.
Yeah.
And we didn't hold government to account for stopping their funding. And we didn't push the investors who didn't invest in women founders against the wall and demand change.
Yeah.
And she's absolutely right. We didn't do any of those things. But not because we weren't being honest about it. You know, we've had this conversation about what is the life of a startup? What is the life of a woman founder? This is not an easy path. Everybody knows that. And it's even less easy for women founders for 7 million different reasons, which we can definitely delve into and talk about. But I'm going to start with the assumption that everybody knows that, and that's why they're here.
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to talk about solutions, and we're going to talk about how we move forward with grace and can assure and can do what we can to mitigate the risk and achieve success. What Electrify Aotearoa truly is all about is, I think, one of the biggest problems that we have worldwide for women founders is that when people think about a startup founder of a high growth venture, they think still of a dude in a hoodie.
It's like San Francisco Bay, bro.
But that's what they think of. And so that impacts women founders horrendously. And the reason is because they don't look like what they say they are.
Exactly.
To the people that they're working with, whether they're future customers.
Which is why both you and I are creating spaces full of people that look like them and see their vision.
100%. So role modeling is absolutely critical. And the more that we have the Olive Sampsons of the world, you know, with a partial exit of 450 million New Zealand dollars, and the more we have the Janine Grangers with her exit, you know, of Easy Crypto, and the more we have stories of Lucy Liu with her raise for Airwallex, the more we have those stories, the more we have this image change. And the minute that image changes for women and for men, the more women jump in, the more investor committees go, hell yes. The more that this changes. So Electrify is a massive role modeling exercise to show, look, all of these women, they are human beings, and look what they have fucking done.
I know.
Right?
It's intense. I mean, this is what the Powerhouse Playground is also all about. It's because I'm like, you know, people know what the freaking Kardashians had for breakfast or what shoes Taylor Swift's wearing. Look at these real life rock stars who are changing worlds.
Yes.
Building like a new future. Like it's insane. We should have billboards, which is what we're doing.
Yes. Yes.
I'm looking at the time. We are going way over. I want to have 20,000 other questions for you. I'm going to end with these last, two. Because we've established, yes, it's hard. We've established what are the ways in which you can kind of deal with that stress and what's really worked for you. We've established that it's really important to create spaces where we see examples of what works. But what would you say to the either early stage founder or still like dreamer who has this vision, has this idea, is completely overwhelmed and intimidated by the mountain ahead of her? Besides, yes, it's hard. What will we tell her?
First thing is the most important thing that person can do is to validate. That's the first thing, to validate. And what that means is this vision that they have.
Yeah.
What is the problem that they're solving?
Yeah.
What is their solution to the problem? And who are the customers, and do the customers need it and want it?
Yeah.
Right? That's the first thing. If they've established that, yes, that is the case, then the next thing they need to think about is, are they the person? Like, is there some unique thing about them? Like, have they been in the industry, in the sector, and they've worked with that problem, and so they understand it so intimately that they are the person to build this innovation and bring it to the world?
Yeah.
If they have that inside knowledge or that inside understanding or that level of passion about it, then the next step after that is go find your community. And
find
that's
your people.
That's the other thing
Welcome.
about Electrify is the fact that Electrify Aotearoa is the opportunity to find your 500-person advisory board, your 500-person allies, the people who are going to be on your wing, the people who are slightly ahead of you, the people who are slightly behind you, who will help you navigate all of the challenges that you're going to have. You'll meet them at Electrify, and you'll see them on platforms like yours, Hila. So it's really important that that founders who have this dream, that they go and connect with other founders. They will be so much more likely to achieve that dream when they have those supporters around them. All that stuff that I said about my husband, if you don't have that person in your life who understands the business, who isn't just a high five, you go girl kind of person, somebody who can give it to you straight because they have some understanding, that's your fellow founders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, it's a shame that these mics are connected, because I was like, drop the mic right now.
Yeah.
Because that is everything. And I think looking back at nearly 17 years of serial entrepreneurship, my biggest lesson that I am still learning, and I feel like with the Powerhouse Alliance, it's finally clicking into place, is to not lone wolf shit.
Yeah.
But also not to ask blind people to proofread your vision.
Yes.
Don't ask everyone their opinion, because everyone, it's like assholes. Everyone has them.
Yeah.
Ask the right people.
Absolutely.
And yes, find your person.
Yeah.
But connecting with a community of founders that are in that same, asylum where we're running, and we have moments where we, are on top of the world, and we see the change we're making, and there's days where we're in fetal position underneath our desk and wanting to stop. To be seen in that, I mean, that's everything.
Absolutely. And there's places there's Electrify, obviously, for the women founder community, but Ministry of Awesome is all about founder community. Everything that we do is about founder community. Here in Wellington, you've got Creative HQ. There's organizations. There's organizations
so
up and down New Zealand who are there. Startup Queenstown, Startup Dunedin. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's like, look around at what's there, but also personally, I've been to Electrify before. I've been connected to these networks, but I didn't show up fully.
Right.
I was still closed and maybe scared to share exactly where I was at and the struggles I was facing at that time. So yes, go to the spaces, but also play full out. Like, go in with an open mind, open heart, and truly connect with people, not just collect a pile of new business cards that collect dust on your desk. I think that was a really big shift for me personally.
Things like conferences and networking just strikes a chill in my heart because I know that I am going to have to, like previously, I felt like, I'm going to have to put my brave face on. I'm going to have to be that person. And it's not really me. And the game changer here is, don't think about yourself. You're there to give.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. What value
So,
can you add?
Honestly, so when you go along to Electrify, and I think this is probably your philosophy too, given what you do.
Yeah.
When you go along, you're there to hear what other people are doing and how can you help them.
Yeah.
So it's no longer about you and your story and whether or not you're have imposter syndrome or it doesn't matter anymore. Because it's really about helping other people. And I know that sounds so naff, but I know it sounds naff.
But it's true.
But in that way, you will enjoy every event that you go to because you're there to support and to help.
And you're
to
building
empower.
something meaningful.
Yes.
I love this. I could go on forever ever.
I'm having fun
Oh my
too, but we
gosh.
gotta go.
I know. I don't have the
what
time,
it
but
is.
I know we're definitely running over. So, without further ado, Marian, thank you so much for taking the time to come here.
Thanks,
to
Sheila,
my
for
hotel
having
room.
me. You're super inspiring, and I love what you're doing.
I love it. It's so lovely to meet you. Thank you. I will put everything in the show notes, but just real quick for everyone listening / watching. If people want to connect, see what you're up to, learn more about Electrify, where can they find you?
Marian at ministryofawesome.com. So it's Marian like librarian, or the more glamorous Maid Marian.
We'll go for Maid Marian.
Marian at ministryofawesome.com, or just find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. We'll put all the links in the show notes. And if you're based in New Zealand and you are not there already, come to Electrify. And also there's more syndicate events, I believe.
Yes.
There. So check it out. Come play with us.